Welcome to Alley Chats. Today I have a really special guest. I am beyond excited to speak to him. We have author Cavan Scott. Cavan, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for popping by.
And hey, why don't you tell us about yourself? Give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. So I'm an author and comic writer based in the UK. I'm primarily write for a lot of different franchises that you might know, things like Star Wars, Doctor Who, Pacific Rim, Vikings, and I write a range of either sort of all-age comics or comics for more adult audiences, shall we say.
So all properties nobody's heard of, right?
Yeah, tiny little things.
So you are primarily a writer, obviously. You write, I was looking at your website, you write books and you write comics, yes, and you write like traditional books, you write comics, and you also do audio dramas. Is that correct? That's
right. Yeah, audio drama is how I started, actually. Back in the midst of time 20 years ago when Doctor Who wasn't on telly and no one thought it would ever come back, a group of fans got together, built a business together and made official Doctor Who audios with the original cast, and that was my first gig, was writing one of those.
Really? So is that Big Finish Audio, or what?
That is, yes.
Finish? Yeah, fantastic. Those are amazing, and I mean, all that stuff is canon, from what I understand. The stuff now, they consider it canon, so it's the kind of thing.
Yeah, who knows with Doctor Who, canon's a very loose concept because timey-wimey, right? And all that. Yeah. I once co-wrote a definitive history of the Daleks, and seeing the Daleks have three definitive origins, it was quite a task to try and make everything work, but I think we did.
Well, I think it's right in what David Tennant said. It's all wibbly wobbly. So, I mean,
exactly.
You're not going to get something solid to work from no matter what.
Exactly. And that's what I love about that show.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it captivated me since I was a child, and I'm in Chicago. I mean, for you, it's
right.
Built into the fabric. Here,
it's in the DNA.
Yeah, here it was on Sunday nights on our local public television channel. My parents allowed me to stay up. I was, 8 years old, and I was staying up on Sunday nights at 10 o'clock to watch Doctor Who. And, it was fabulous. And I'd go to school, and nobody knew what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah, no, it's I think back in the day it was more of a cult following over in the States, wasn't it? But yeah, growing up as a kid in the 70s and the 80s, it was everywhere, and went through a little dip, and now obviously has come back in a major way. So yeah, I've been very, very honoured to write for it in various different ways for the last couple of decades.
Well, and you also have written some Judge Dredd books, so you're with 2000 AD on that. But you have a book out now, or you contributed to a book called Corebuster, right?
Yeah, Corebuster. So in the UK, we used to have loads of them, weekly humour titles, things like Corebuster, Nutty, Whizzer and Chips, the Beano, the Dandy, and basically they were made up of sort of single page or 2-page strips featuring returning characters. It could be 20 strips in an issue every week, every Wednesday coming out, or every Tuesday. Now, sadly, as a weekly, there's only really the Beano, which has been going for 80 years and I used to write for. That's the only one still going. But recently, Rebellion secured the rights for all the old characters from a rival group called IPC, who published a load of titles back in the 70s and 80s. And so every year they've been pulling together a special around Easter, featuring some of these old characters for old fans and hopefully new fans as well. And I've been lucky enough to write Frankenstein, which was a favourite of mine when I was a kid, who was a slightly goofy riff on Frankenstein, where it's a very good-hearted monster who's incredibly clumsy and whose dad created him and then basically has been trying to get rid of him ever since because he just causes chaos wherever he goes.
Yeah, I read it. It was a lot of fun. It reminds me, like, when I was a kid here in the States, it was Mad Magazine and Cracked were the two really big ones. And I, of course, subscribed to both of them back then. And I started reading this, and it totally had that vibe to me. Like, I felt like, wow, this is something that's missing. Because when I pick up, I don't remember the last time I picked one up, but the last time I read a Mad Magazine, it was good, but it wasn't, I don't know, it felt like almost it wasn't taking itself seriously enough to be something that kids would dig into. Whereas this, I read it and I thought, oh man, if I was a kid, I would have been all over Corebuster.
Yeah, and the thing about those those kind of titles over here is that they ran for years, and the characters ran for years. I mean, I mentioned the Beano, which is the other one that's the one that's still going, and some of those characters, in fact, the majority of the characters that are in there now, my youngest daughter reads it, were created in the 1950s and have been running ever since. One of them, the Bash Street Kids, which is a bunch of kids, has been drawn by the same artist every week since the early 60s. So generations of people come in. So yeah, I pick up a copy of the Beano from my daughter, and it's pretty much in the same characters as I read when I was younger than her. And that's the same thing we're doing with Corebuster, is bringing back these characters that for one generation are incredibly nostalgic, but also for another generation they've never seen, and it's a tragedy. And so we're hoping, just like 2000 AD, which is the other title I work on for Rebellion, they've been producing a annual and now quarterly sort of all age version of 2000 AD, again using the same characters, but for anyone can pick up, kids, adults, all of them. And gradually that's been getting more and more popular, and the frequency has been increasing. And I think that's the plan with Corebuster as well, that hopefully as people start to remember these characters and introduce them to their children, and kids start read them as well, they'll want more. And that's definitely what we're planning.
Now, there's two things I want to address. We don't have a ton of time, so I like people to get a taste of what you do so that they are driven to your website, which we'll give out momentarily. But I've got two things I want to ask you about. One, tell me about Shadow Service.
So yes, Shadow Service was announced a couple of weeks ago. It's a brand new comic coming from Vault Comics in the summer. It's creator-owned title by myself and Corin M. Howe. It's basically a British supernatural spy thriller with, you've got a MI666, which is a cult version of the British Secret Service. Has all kinds of interesting people acting as agents. They recruit a witch from the streets of London who's been using her powers to act as a private investigator for years, and she's got involved in a shadowy, secretive world, and so they recruit her off the streets, and it's her story. Gina Meyer, her name is, and it's a story of how she gets involved in the organization, what that means to her and the people she loves, and also the fact that she realizes that she can't trust anyone from that point on.
And this is your book. This is your, if I'm correct here, it's your first.
My first creator-owned, yeah. I've worked in licensed and work hire books for, pretty much all my career, to say 20-odd years. And so it was something that I've been planning for a long time. It's a story I've been planning for a long time. And the guys, I talked to the guys at Vault, and they took the plunge. So yeah, I'm really excited and looking forward to it.
I love everything you said when you described this. MI666 is fantastic. I love that. So, definitely. And that's something, if they go to your website, they'll be able to pick up there? Absolutely,
yeah. We're going to, hopefully, with the situation it is at the minute with Diamond and everything, it's still on track to come out in the summer. So all the details will be on the website. It will also be on Vault's website as well. So yeah, everything seems to be. We're scripted 5 of the 10 issues. We're a couple of issues into the art, so everything's proceeding as planned.
Wonderful. The other thing I wanted to touch on is with everybody in lockdown, you're in lockdown as well. People are getting content online. They're listening to podcasts. Thank God. They're watching live video streams and that. You have one. You have a live stream called Plot Geekery. Tell me about it.
So yeah, a friend of mine, George Mann, who I write with quite a lot. We're together. We're developing a couple of original properties. George has book series. He also writes for Star Wars, like myself. We hang out all the time and we chat and we talk about nonsense and geeky stuff and we plot stories. And so we decided when the lockdown started that perhaps we should do this on YouTube and have a go at live streaming and see if other people who we talk to online would like to come on. And it sort of turned into a fortnightly show, which we're doing on a Thursday night over here in the UK. And yeah, it's about an hour every fortnight. We answer questions from people who are watching. This week coming up, we're going to be plotting a character or creating a character live with sort of like questions fired at from the people who are watching. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's something that neither of us had really planned. It sort of is come out of the current crisis. It's something we're enjoying. Bit nerve-wracking. We've had a few technical troubles, along the way, but that's all part of live streaming as far as I know. But yeah, it's just another great way to connect. I'm a strong believer in, connecting with people on social media, and this just seemed another way of doing it, especially as I know a lot of people are interested in what we're doing. I'm involved in a big project for Lucasfilm called Star Wars: The High Republic, and while I can't talk a lot about it, we can, it's a way to reveal what's going on with that until the launch in the summer. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and if people want to go to my website, they can find the link and come along and join us.
Well, you've done a lot with Star Wars. I'm looking through here. I see that you've done some kid stuff like the Finn and Poe adventure and some things like that. That's all the kind of stuff that I really encourage people to go to your website and just start digging through, because I'm a fan of all this geeky stuff, obviously. As soon as I open it up, I see Star Wars. I see Doctor Who. Right there, you've got me, right? I see something called Planet Dinosaur. You've got me. I see Sherlock Holmes. Come on. I mean, this is just great. Sarah Jane Adventures. You even have an audiobook for Sarah Jane Adventures. And Judge
it's one of the last things Elizabeth Sladen actually ever performed, which is quite touching, really, and quite sad. But yeah, it was just before the series finished. It was the last audiobook that came out. Wow.
And then on top of it, Corebuster, which is why we first connected. And they sent me a copy of Corebuster, and I read through it, and I went, I'm having so much fun with this. I want to talk to everybody involved. So I had no idea when I got into it that the guy writing Frankenstein had such a resume on top of it. So, Kevin, this is your dream. I ask everybody this. This is your dream con, okay? Who would you be most excited to meet?
Have to be Jack Kirby. It would have to be. The chance to sit down and talk to him, talk to the king. I never met Stan Lee, but I saw him at two cons. The first time was at San Diego, probably about 6 years ago. And I was standing in one of the corridors up going into a panel, and the entire corridor went quiet, and everyone turned, and Stan walked down the middle. It was like royalty walking down. And then I saw him a couple of years later, and the same thing happened. So I never had a chance to talk to Stan. I would love to, but I'd really love to sit down with Jack and just to find out, because you obviously get an opinion of what he's like from, reading about him and reading about his relationship with Stan and all those kind of things. But he seems such a quiet man, and we know he's a genius for storytelling. And there's that, I always try and think when I'm working for, whether I'm working for someone else's property or doing something like shadow service, I keep sort of that maxim in the back of my head that I think sort of sums Kirby up of what can I do? Well, let's do something new. And I'd love to sit down and talk to him about the entire creative process, and also just those early days of Marvel and what it was really like. It'd be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I think everybody would like to be in on that conversation.
Yeah.
So with so many cons that are canceling right now, what do you think is the best way that people can support creators during this time?
Well, I think first of all, foremost is to connect with them online. If they're available online, connect to them, talk to them. Because I think that's a lot of thing we're missing at the minute is the connection of people. Obviously, it's difficult to get hold of comics now, but there are digital comics. There are digital editions that you can support people with. You can check out, see if they've got any crowdfunding or Patreon services. Patreon is keeping a lot of people afloat at the minute, if there are creators that you enjoy. But yeah, I think as well as obviously the financial support, because let's face it, it's something that's affecting a lot of people. And we realize as creators that some people haven't got so much going around at the minute. But yeah, connecting and talking about these things and reminding people that we're all here. I think that's part of the parcel, because as with any con, as with any fandom, I think we're seeing the best parts of fandom at the minute, when people are coming together and supporting each other when we're all so separated. So I think that's a major part of it. Yes, obviously support people financially, but definitely support people as fellow fans, because let's face it, at the end of the day, that's what we all are: creators, readers, writers, whatever. We're all fans.
Yeah, right. We didn't get into it because we hated the properties. That's for sure.
Exactly. So, it's that's why we're here.
You mentioned Patreon. You mentioned crowdfunding. Do you have either?
Not at the minute. No, it's something I am looking at, but at the minute, I'm being kept pretty busy with Star Wars, and so I'm happy with that. But there are there are definite plans working in the back of my mind. There's a Nick Brokenshire, the artist, who's also another Brit. And, we work together on Star Wars. We've got a few ideas. We're milling around. So, keep an eye on my website and on my Twitter feed, and I might be talking about those soon.
Well, and let me know, and we'll share it with our audience as soon as something happens, whether it's Patreon, Kickstarter, whatever it is. And I know that people listening would definitely want to support people that are on here. So
that'd be great.
Yeah. Where can people check out your work?
Best place is to go to my website, which is www.cavanscott.com. I'm Cavan Scott on Twitter as well, and Cavan Scott Writer on Instagram. I'm usually around on one of those places. So come along and say hello.
Where back to that, and this ties into the last thing I just asked, where can people actually watch Plot and Geekery?
It's on a YouTube channel called Strange Matter. Again, actually the best place is to go via my website at the minute. So we're building up those numbers on it. So it's Strange Matter is the channel to look for, which is the sort of little production house that me and George have. Come and find us there.
Wonderful. Oh, Kevin, this was such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. I encourage everybody, check out this website. Start buying this stuff. You're going to find so much material that you're going to be interested in. This was truly an honor. Thank you.
Brilliant. No, thank you for stopping by. It's been great to chat.
You can find Alley Chats on Facebook by searching for @AlleyChats. You can also visit us at our webpage, smgpods.com/AlleyChats, for links to all our episodes and other cool stuff. One easy way to support our show is to rate and review Alley Chats wherever you listen to your podcasts. Those ratings really help us out and help others find our show as well. Alley Chats is produced and edited by Rob Southgate for Southgate Media Group. Be sure to subscribe to Alley Chats because you definitely don't want to miss an episode. Thanks again to our affiliate sponsors, Hunt-A-Killer and Tweaked Audio. Links to them are on our webpage and in the show notes. This wouldn't be possible without them. Our theme song is by Benny and the No Goods. Check out their awesome music at bennyandthenogoods.bandcamp.com. If you're an artist or writer or creative type that would have a table at an artist alley and would like to be on Alley Chats, message us through the Facebook page or email us directly at southgatemediagroup@gmail.com and we'll set up an interview. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with another fantastic show.